We are live on Instagram. Cool. Forgive me if I don't know where to look. I've got three devices going on here. I am Olajide Paris of MakeCinematicMusic.com. And today I'm going to be talking about what sample libraries a composer needs to compose cinematic music, whether that's film or video game music. Let's see if I can get this situated a little better here. Cool. Before I start, please do pick up my free composer's gear guide, which you can get at makecinematicmusic.com. It's a free guide that has recommendations at every price point for everything from sample libraries and computers to interfaces and monitoring. Get that at makecinematicmusic.com. So, the first type of library that we'll talk about is Epic and Broadstrokes libraries. So, Epic and Broadstrokes libraries are larger than life. They're great for layering. These are going to be libraries like Metropolis Arc series by Orchestral Tools, the Albion series by Spitfire Audio, and Project Sam's Symphobia. These are really great if you're either writing epic music or you want something that's larger than life, or for layering or for sketching. These can also be really great for your first library if you don't have a big budget for more traditional library. Now, the thing with these is that the ensemble sizes do vary. This video is mostly about string libraries. So with these larger ensemble libraries, like the Epic and the Broadstroke libraries, they tend to have unconventional sizes because they're just made to sound really, really big. So if you're wanting to do more traditional, realistic type of writing, it might be challenging to do, but these are still something that you're going to want to have in your toolkit. The next type of library that you want to have in terms of strings is ensemble and sectional libraries. So these are going to be the libraries that are going to be your bread and butter for any type of traditional orchestral writing or to traditional standard string writing. And these are going to be different from the Epic in one way, well, in a couple of ways. So with the Epic libraries, you're going to get strings broken down into something like high strings and low strings. Sometimes it will be high, mid, and low. And with the ensemble and sectional libraries, what you're going to get is violins 1, violins 2, violas, cellos, and then basses, just the same way that they're divided in real orchestras. And the size of the ensembles is going to reflect more what you're going to get in a traditional orchestral environment, meaning you're going to get probably anywhere between 12 to 14 or 16 violin ones, and then it goes down from there in twos, basically until you get to the basses. Really great libraries in this category are like Berlin Symphonic Strings or Berlin Strings by Orchestral Tools, Spitfire Symphonic Strings, Cinematic Studio Strings, and the strings that are included in the Orchestra Complete. The next type of sample library, the next type of string library that you look for once you get your ensemble and your sectional library is going to be a Divisi library. Now, today is a really great time to talk about that because there's been a major update that's been released to one of the most popular and successful libraries in that category. To explain the difference between a Divisi library and an ensemble library, essentially, instead of having something like violins 1, violins 2, etc., what Divisi libraries do is they divide each section of the string sections into smaller sections, so they're subdivided. At the very least, they're divided into sections of 2, and then some libraries go as far as to divide them into sections of 3. And what that means is that you can do much more detailed writing, and this is really great for either writing small or for layering or just more intimate styles of writing. So maybe not the best for epic writing, but if you want to do really nuanced and really kind of emotional writing, then Divisi libraries can be perfect for that. That being said, they probably shouldn't be your first library because you should have a pretty good handle on orchestration and some advanced orchestration techniques before you go for that. Some really great examples of Divisi libraries out there are LA scoring strings, which has recently been updated to version 3 by AudioBro. VSL dimension strings, that's a really good one as well. And then finally, Spitfire Studio strings, which I think has 2 or 3 part Divisi. Now, the fourth type of string library that you want if you are a composer is going to be solo libraries. And just like the name sounds, these are instruments featuring not ensembles, but individual soloists. These are really great for either solo writing, like the name suggests, or for layering, or for just really, really small, more small scale productions. Really great options for these are like the Berlin First Chairs or Berlin Nocturne, not Berlin Nocturne, but Nocturne by Orchestral Tools. Chris Hine solo strings, I think that's a really underrated library. It's really incredible and has um, a lot of options. And Cinematic Studio solo strings. Of course, there are many, many others, but those would be my top 3 solo string libraries. And the fifth and final category of string libraries that you want to look for when you're a composer is aleatoric and effects libraries. So aleatoric and effects libraries can vary by size, but they're usually larger in scale because they're usually for more epic or larger than life cinematic sounds. They're used for adding tension or transitions for almost any style of music, and they're especially great at horror writing, but they are a really highly specialized type of library. So I wouldn't say this is the first ensemble and sectional libraries before you get something aleatoric. Some examples of aleatoric and effects libraries are Berlin String Effects by Orchestral Tools, which is a companion to the Berlin symphonic strings and the Berlin strings. Cage and Case and Symphonic Shadows by 8Dio. I produced those last 2. 8Dio is kind of the industry leader when it comes to aleatoric effects libraries. Case was their first real big one that they did, and then I did Cage was the first big one that they did, and then I did Case in Symphonic Shadows for them. And they're both great libraries, if I do say so myself. And then lastly, 2D by Sono Kinetic. That's another great one that's been a mainstay for about 10 years or so. So there you have it. That's the 5 types of string libraries that you want if you're a composer. Again, the epic and larger than life, the ensemble or sectional, the ones that are more geared towards standard writing, the Divisi libraries, the solo libraries, and the aleatoric effects libraries. Now, if you have more questions about sample libraries, or if you want to know a little bit more about what gear you need, excuse me, as a composer, please pick up my free guide, the Composer's Gear Buyer Guide. Let's try that again. Composer's Gear Buyer Guide, which you can get at makecinematicmusic.com, where I'll give you recommendations for gear at all different price points. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.